Well, hello everybody. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be my first video that I've ever put up on YouTube that has to do with Destiny 2. I've had a raiding group that we've been doing a few raids now, and I thought it would be about time for me to start sharing them with all of you on the way that we handle them and the way that we have found what works for us, and hopefully you can glean some things that will be useful for your fire teams as well. So today we're going to be running Scourge of the Past, located in the EDZ. It's a really fun raid. This is the first one that I actually learned myself. So without further ado, let's get loaded in, and I will be going through my loadouts and the different tactics and the different supers that we use to be successful in this raid. So here we go. Alright, so now that we've landed, we are going to be placing a raid banner, and you're going to want to rally that. For this encounter, you're going to want to have a good auto rifle that will help you clear out ads, as well as a shotgun is a really good choice. A fusion rifle would probably actually work really well, or swords are very good against some of the main enemies that you'll be dealing with in this encounter. So to get to where the encounter starts, you're going to want to follow the route that you see in the background gameplay. Clear out a few ads, and then you're going to see one of the very important enemies of this encounter. They're called Berserkers. And what makes them interesting is that they are immune when you first encounter them, and then you have to sort of lure them to get them to put their shield up. And when you go inside that, you'll be suppressed, so you have to move nice and slow. And there'll be two red spots, one on his front and one on his back, that two team members will have to shoot, and that will bring his shield down, and then you can do damage to him. I like to use an auto rifle to really hit that crit, and then I will often use a shotgun or grenade to take him and actually kill him. When he dies, he'll drop an orb that you'll take up and put into the dunk spot right there that you see, and that will begin the encounter. Alright, so now that we're moving, what will happen is by putting that orb in, a map will appear, and you're going to want to have one, maybe two of your teammates staying at the map, one to defend it and the other one to read it, because there's going to be a lot of ads and servitors. They're going to be coming to swarm that area, and if any of the servitors get too close, not only will it block the dunk point from any additional orbs from going in, it'll also make that map disappear. Now on the map, you'll be able to see where all of your players are, where your teammates are, as well as you'll see a red marker, and that's going to be another one of those berserkers. And you want to be able to communicate to your team where that berserker is on the map, so that the rest of your team can go and kill him. When you kill the berserker, you'll notice that he will drop two more orbs. That means two players will pick them up, look on the map, and on the map you'll see where that orb needs to go, because it'll be signified by corresponding dots to each of the dunk points on the map. It is important to remember that it is helpful to have orbs not be picked up either at the same time or one right after another. It's good to have one teammate pull up to pick up an orb, let the map people do the call out on where it needs to go before the second person picks up their orb. This just helps keep things organized and helps keep things running smoothly for your team. When you're moving with the orb, you'll notice that you're not able to sprint, you're not able to summon your sparrow. So I find that jumping and meleeing helps me get just that little bit more distance at a time as I'm going. When you get to each of those dunk points, there will be two servitors. Those two servitors need to be killed before you can actually dunk the orb into the dunk point. One orb will always go to one of the other locations. One orb will always go back to the map to power the map. If you take too long, you'll hear an audio cue, and what will happen is your entire team will wipe. Now, if you look on the left-hand side of my screen, you'll notice that I have an ionized debuff because I held and I dunked an orb. That means that until that timer expires, I am not able to pick up another orb. So you'll have to rotate your team members and have a fresh 2 people do the next set. Then you will see that when we get back around into the next Berserker, I will have my debuff removed, and I'll be able to pick up again. We need to cycle through that process through the entire encounter, so we'll let that play out.
Guardian down.
Now in this run, I was testing out the new Witherhorde grenade launcher on the Berserkers, and they worked decently well. The only trouble on them is that they were really only effective when you were able to land the direct hit on the Berserker, because they like to teleport away and often would get off of that lighted spot. So that's something to keep in mind. If you can really land those shots every time, it could be really helpful if 1 or 2 of your teammates are running the Witherhorde, and you might be able to melt those Berserkers rather quickly. Now you'll see that I'm going to be taking this orb back to the map, just like I was saying just a little bit ago. And when I get over there, and when I dunk it in, you're going to get a good look at what that map looks like. And you'll notice that as I run by, I'm going to look for that red marker. And that red marker is going to be where the next Berserker is. And in this case, it's going to be up in that upper northeastern corner of the map. So you're going to see me go around this building and then run towards that corner of the map. And along the way, I'm going to meet up with all of my other teammates on their Sparrows, and then we'll all head over to where that Berserker is. Your Sparrow is going to be key in completing this encounter from getting from place to place quickly, especially when you are trying to clear out those servitors for your teammates to be dunking orbs. You will need to make sure that those people are going ahead of the person with the orbs that they can dunk. The person who is always heading back to the map does not need a escort. They can usually make it on the way. The only piece of advice for the people going back to the map with the orbs is to, as soon as possible, jump your way up to the rooftops, and you'll be able to have a much more direct path and a much clearer path on how to get back to that map position. After you do this process about 3 or 4 times, I believe it's a total of 7 orbs that need to be dunked, you'll see a message in the left-hand bottom that says the Kel's Scourge barrier is offline. Then if you look at one of the dunk points, a lot of times it should be the one that is where you dunked last. You'll see that the hole is able to be jumped down and into, and you've completed the first encounter of this raid, and you can collect the first raid chest. Then you'll end up in this underground tunnel area that can be a bit of a maze, so I've sped it up here so that you can see what we did. We did get a little bit lost on this run. It's really easy to get turned around, but you're looking for a big room that you're able to look through the grate and see the big hole that you're going to be jumping into. Once you get into that big room, it gets much easier, and you'll be able to see a little bit of how to get there. There's really good detailed walkthroughs on how to get to that area. Other places. What you're ultimately looking for is this hole in the wall where you'll be able to run through sort of a cave-like area and jump through another really big hole. And then you'll just follow the path, the linear path, to get to where the next raid encounter begins. Again, this encounter is going to be really sparrow heavy. In fact, it's a sparrow race. The important thing to note once you get into this next big room is that you're going to want to have a sparrow that has the perk on it that it takes less time to summon between summonings. Not that it takes less time to summon. The one that says it takes less time to cool down. Because there's going to be a couple moments in this encounter where you're going to want to be able to jump off your sparrow, or if your sparrow gets destroyed, you're going to want to be able to summon that sparrow right away. Because behind you there's going to be two pads that have sort of hands on them. Two of your teammates are going to have to go and melee those consoles, which will open a big door. And once that big door opens, the encounter will start, and you're going to see a very big servitor that's flaming chasing you, and it's your job in this encounter to outrun that servitor. So before we got started, we thought we needed to amp ourselves up, so we all played some cowbells, because who doesn't like cowbells? And then we decided it was ready for us to start. So we got lined up in front of this door, and this door is going to open when the encounter starts, revealing your racetrack, if you will. It's important to organize yourself so you're not bumping into each other as much along the path, so that you are avoiding any undue bumps and making yourselves obstacles for along your way. You'll notice that I am not going to survive the entire path. Only two of your teammates need to make it to the very end. Punch two of the consoles just like they were at the beginning to close the door before the servitor comes through.
Guardian down. Guardian down. Guardian down.
I didn't make it, I switched my perspective so you can see what's going on. See, my two teammates are meleeing those buttons. You can see the servitor coming, the door closes, and that's the end of the encounter once that door closes. You do have to make sure there's enough time for the door to completely close before the servitor comes through, otherwise your team will wipe. There is no loot at the end of this encounter unless you are able to push all 6 buttons that are along that course. And if you do that, you are able to spawn a loot chest at the end of the sparrow race that has the chance to drop the exotic sparrow for the raid. You can look up different guides on where all those buttons are if you would like more information on that. Then to get to the third encounter of this raid, you'll have to do a little bit of a jumping puzzle, taking the route that I just took there. Then you'll end up in this caved area. And the important thing to remember on getting through here, what makes it really easy, is to remember that anytime you have the option of going right or left, always go left. If you always go left, this area is super easy to navigate, and you'll be able to get to the next area very quickly and easily. And once you get up top here, there'll be 2 more consoles that you will need to punch with your teammate. Here I am just trying to do it by myself, even though I know that I was not going to be able to. I was just killing some time before my teammate made it up to where I was. And you'll see that he gets up here, and he'll punch along with me, each of us on one of the consoles, and that door that's right in front of us will open, and we will have made it to the next encounter. If you have a couple teammates who are having some trouble getting through the jumping puzzle particularly, you are able to run over, and will be a servitor in the back of the area of the arena that you will be able to start attacking and destroy, which will then trigger the rest of your team to be warped to the encounter. It is important you don't want to kill that servitor quite yet, because killing the servitor will begin the encounter. And you don't want to be doing that until you're all ready. So this encounter will involve your team dividing into 2 fire teams of 3. One team will go underneath, and there's a big circular area that you'll see in just a moment. The other 3 will stay up top, killing shanks, as well as other adds and snipers, and servitors. The shanks will have overshield, so I like to use hard light, since I am able to switch the different damage types. The overshields on the shanks will cycle from void to arc to solar, which also happens to be the order that you can set your hard light to do damage with. Before you start the encounter, it's wise to eliminate the different snipers that are around on the rooftops before killing the servitor, which will then start the encounter. By killing the servitor, there is the electrified barrier before you can go down to the cave. Killing the servitor will take that barrier down, and the encounter will start. As soon as that barrier goes down, you'll see that there's going to be some ads that spawn directly in front of me, and I'll throw a grenade right in front so that they get cleared out very quickly. It's important to remember that once I go down here, that barrier is going to come back up, so I'm stranded underneath until we kill the servitor. But before you kill the servitor again, and that new one spawns, I'm going to run around here, and I have 2 other people down here with me. Go into those similar consoles, and they'll each have a different shape. There's a square, a triangle, and a circle. And then there's one console that is going to look rather crazy, red, and it is just constantly changing its shape. You do not want to punch the crazy console, because it will cause your team to immediately wipe. After you punch one of the shapes, you're going to see a buff depending on which shape you punch. If you punch a square, you're going to see parallel phase. If you punch a circle, you're going to see continuous phase. And if you punch a triangle, you're going to see angular phase. So after everybody has their shape and has their buff, you're going to call up to the upper team to kill another servitor. Once that second servitor is killed, what's going to happen is all of those consoles are going to reset, and they're going to change, and they're going to be reshuffled. So what you're going to want to do is go find your second matching shape and punch it. And it's also helpful to look at each of the consoles. There are numbers painted on the walls, so you can call out to your other teammates and help them know where the crazy one is, or where the different shapes are, because then they don't have to necessarily stop. It's also good to remember that once you have one of those phases, there's going to be an area of tethering, so you don't want to get too close to your other teammates and damage each other. Once you have both of your phases of the matching shape, you're going to call up for that servitor to be killed again. And once that servitor is killed, you'll be able to hop on your Sparrow, come back up to the top, grab a tank. Each one of you should have them once you've dunked it into the locations that are marked. And you're going to start damaging the boss. You're going to want to make sure that you're watching your buff in the left-hand side of the screen as that ticks down, because once it hits 0, your tank is very close to exploding. You do not want to be inside of it when it explodes. As this phase is happening, the other team of 3 that were up top are heading down below, and they're going to be following the same process of punching the consoles and getting the charges. So then obviously the team that was down below is now up above, and we're killing Shanks, and we're killing the snipers, and we are taking down the servitor when we're called to do so that the barriers and the console will reset. This is a great opportunity to also mention that the 3 dunk points for the orbs, there's 3 of them. One is directly up north where the original servitor spawns at the beginning of the encounter. And then there are one on either side in the southern part of the map. One to the west and one to the east. So we like to designate them as north, southeast, and southwest. And that helps us to keep the map in the direction straight. And each one of our teams of 3, we have an assigned dunk point that we go to every single time, which just keeps it nice and organized, ensuring that there won't be 2 people that go to the same point. And it just really helps keep the encounter moving along. So you'll see we just completed another round. Another round of tanks just spawned for the team that was down below. So then we switch roles again. So now I'm down back below getting my charges, running around in circles. What's good is when you first come down here, a good way to do this is go ahead and find your charge, and if it's not the crazy one, go ahead and punch it, and then just sort of stick around that console until everyone has their charge and you're able to kill the servitor up top. Because there's also a chance that when the servitor is killed and the consoles get reshuffled, that your console will have remained the same. So it's just nice to have this starting point, just in case that happens. It's also a good way to avoid running into your other teammates down below and avoid being damaged by each other by getting too close. If you look closely on the screen right there, you'll see that there is the circle that is around me, and that's sort of the distance that you have before you start tethering to your other teammates who also have charges. You'll also notice on the health bar of the boss that it is divided into 4 different segments. Each of those segments, when you deplete one of the segments, you'll see a message that says that some damage has been sustained to the boss, and the countdown sequence is rebooting. If you take too much time to deplete one of those quarters of the health bar, your team will wipe and you'll have to start the encounter back to the beginning. So that's a good thing to keep an eye on, making sure that you're doing enough damage to the boss each damage phase with the tanks. Again, I can't stress it enough to make sure you're making good use of your Sparrow to get around, because even when you pick up your 2 orbs, you're not going to actually, well, your 2 charges I should say, you're not going to have an orb in your hand, but you will be still going to those dunk points, the same ones that you saw in the first encounter, to be putting them in, and you'll see your character dunk that orb in to get that tank. But you're going to be using the Sparrow just to make things go much faster. And once you deplete the last section of the health bar of the boss, you will have completed this part of the raid, this 3rd encounter. You can run back up to where you originally spawned, and you'll see a raid chest there waiting for you. And then it's time to head into the final encounter of this raid, which happens in the same arena, to take out Insurrection Prime. For the last encounter, it is very good, and it's an excellent, excellent choice to run Whisper of the Worm, because this is a very DPS, critical hit heavy boss. So I like to run an auto rifle, a shotgun, and Whisper of the Worm, as well as my bubble for my super. My other teammates like to use bubble if you're a Titan. It's good to have a Well of Radiance, as well as golden guns are very, very good choices for supers on this boss. For this encounter, you're going to have to divide your team into a few different teams. The first two will be dealing with adds and berserkers, and you'll be making sure that you go to a berserker that's marked on a map similar to the first map in the first encounter. And when you kill that berserker, he'll drop 2 orbs, and again, they'll be marked on the map to where they need to go, so people at the map can call out which dunk points they need to go to. For these 2 people, there is a glitch in this encounter that allows the same 2 people to constantly be only on berserker duty. By after dunking in, coming up to the place that I just went to, and you'll see a joining allies countdown, I will respawn, and you'll notice that my debuff has now disappeared, and I can go back and pick up another orb once I respawn and kill the next berserker. It will take a total of 4 orbs to dunk, and then 3 tanks will spawn, and we'll talk about those tanks in just a moment. Another 2 of your teammates will be at the map, one primarily reading the map, and the other one to be helping taking care of snipers, as well as using a sniper rifle to shoot glowing blue spots on the boss, which are his shields. You will not be able to damage the boss at all until all of those shields are down. So while this is happening, it's very important to be on track on getting those shields down so that you're ready to DPS when the damage phase comes. The other 2 people will be on the northern side of the map doing the same thing, shooting the places on the boss that are shielded, as well as taking out snipers. Those snipers will spawn each time a berserker is killed, so you need to keep your head up and looking around. The boss will also start going into a wipe mechanic from time to time where he'll shoot up in the air. You'll see what looks like a big orange canister, and you want to be shooting that canister to stop the wipe mechanic from going through. Once you get 4 orbs dunked, 3 tanks will spawn, and you only need really 1 of the tanks because you only need 1 shot from the tank to stun the boss to go into the damage phase. We like to have our entire team head to this area that we like to call the green room, and you'll see where we're standing for that. And you can sort of lure the boss to be standing in that direction by shooting him, and he'll turn towards you and that kind of thing. What makes it good is that it makes it really easy to keep track of the next mechanic, because you'll see that he will emit sort of an EMP pulse, and you'll get the same phases that you were picking up in the last encounter. And there's a good acronym to remember, CAP. So if you're looking at the boss from the perspective that you're seeing on your screen right now, the farthest left platform on sort of the ledge we're standing on is going to be C. Then if you go to the right, down on the ground, that could be A for angular, and then back up on the ledge on the right hand side would be P for parallel. And what makes that important is that with your 6 teammates, there'll be 2 of each charges. So what it means is that you're going to want to make sure you're standing with your teammate who has the same charge as you, because that will buff the amount of damage that you're doing to the boss. If you're standing close to people who do not have the same charge, you will become tethered and you will damage each other, which is not good for this encounter, or really any raid encounter for that matter. You'll do that 2 or 3 times, and once you do that, you'll see that Insurrection Prime will be defeated, and you'll be able to say that you have completed the Scourge of the past raid. So we'll let the end of this encounter play out.
Guardian down.
You'll notice on a couple of these times that we kill the berserker and the orbs drop, and we don't pick them up right away. What we're doing is we're letting the people in the map room know that we have killed the berserker and the orbs are on the ground, and making sure that they are ready to be watching the map to tell us where we need to take those orbs. And again, pick one up, pick one of the orbs up, let the map call out where it needs to go, and then have the second person pick up their orb to be told where to go. just keeps things running smoothly, nice and organized, and less of a chance for confusion, because if you dunk the orb into the wrong place, you will immediately die, much like how that was the same thing on the first encounter. So that organization is going to be key in making sure that you're successful in this encounter.
Guardian down. Guardian down.
here, we're going up and we're killing our last Berserker. And we'll take down the ads first, so the Berserker's the last thing standing. Again, it just helps to not have those Marauders around. They're invisible and they're easy to miss. They can take you down really quickly if you're not careful. So we're going to shotgun this last Berserker down. He'll drop his 2 orbs. And we will be able to go and spawn our last round of tanks. We're letting the map know. And now we're going to start picking them up, take them down to where they need to go. I'm going to be jumping and meleeing again to make sure that I can just get every last ounce of distance out of each hop to make sure I get down in time. What's nice on this encounter is there's plenty of time to get around with your orb, so you don't have to sweat too much on making sure to run out of time. I'm going to grab my tank. Me and my teammate like to both grab tanks just in case something goes haywire, but you really only need one. She's already taken the shot, and he's in an excellent location on this one. Here's a really good shot of where CA and P would be. I'm going to drop a bubble just to give us that little more of a buff. I have the C, the continuous charge, so I went over to the left. I only took 2 shots, and then Insurrection Prime is defeated. He sends out one last rocket. I like to think of that one as like a firework to celebrate our victory. And you jump down the hole where he was, where he spawned, where he started. And you'll run towards this big door. Once everyone's close enough, the door will open. And the final raid chest will be there waiting for you to pick up your raid loot. And you have now finished the Scourge of the Past raid. And if you liked this video, found it helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.